A little advice to the people that are first-timers, I would say soak it all in, and as you go forward, try to think about the kind of things we talk about when you approach entrepreneurial things for the first time. More experienced people, use this to refine your thinking. I've been in this course for, as I said, 25 years, and every single year I come up with some refinement in my thinking, listening not only to the speakers, but to the questions that come. So I hope you enjoy the course. We do have to calibrate before we get going, though. It is MIT, so we have our first formula, and it is H equals R divided by E. So I've got an audience with a whole bunch of different people, and we're trying to solve this equation, and we're trying to maximize H. So for those of you who can't see, H equals R divided by E. Anybody want to take a guess what these symbols are? Yeah, the snow has got you. All right, I'll give you a hint. H is happiness. Okay, this is where, okay, let's see. Yeah.
Reality over expectation.
Oh, he jumped right to it. Reality over expectations. All right, last year somebody said revenue divided by expenses, which is equally good, I guess. So this is a generalizable formula, and for those of you who have even slight idea of math, if I lower your expectations to 0, I can make you infinitely happy. But I think I'm never going to be able to do that. But the point is, this works both for teaching here and for everything you do. It includes if you over-deliver on what you promise, you'll have people happy. Your investors will be happy, your customers. So happiness is reality divided by expectation, with the fact that you can never quite get expectations to 0. Okay, so lower your expectations. I want you to all be happy. Topics in my overview is why write a plan, what should be in it, and then talk a little bit about the plan as a financing document. So does anyone know who this character is? This is Dwight Eisenhower, Supreme Commander, Allied Forces, Europe. D-Day, became President of the United States. Life magazine. He's on the cover, and he says, "Plans are worthless." So I guess we're sort of done with the course. This is a guy who planned and executed this massive invasion, and if you've read any of the history of it, it's just an amazing operation. So plans are worthless, but planning is everything. So again, these days, we'll talk about business plans and whether to write one specifically. So for example, the Wall Street Journal had a big article about, does a startup really need a business plan? And what they're talking about are written business plans. And there are academic studies showing that people would be better off just to go off and launch a company. And I pretty much agree with that at one level. I've been around the country judging various business plan competitions or classes that have business plans. It's pretty clear that the people doing it have no intention of actually starting a company. It's just an academic exercise. At MIT, that's not what we're doing. We're trying to figure out, and what Yost and the people at the 100K did was say, we're trying to build tomorrow's leading companies. This is about trying to actually get things going. So a business plan, or at least thinking about a business plan, is really what you need to do to launch a company. So why actually write a real plan? Well, you have to, you think, because nobody's going to finance you without something written. You may need it to talk to strategic partners, to explain what you're doing to others, and to attract key people. But the real reason you need to write a plan or think about it is you need to understand your business. What is the scarcest resource that you as an entrepreneur have out there? Money? Plenty of money in the world. Time. It's your time. the reason to think it through is you want to spend the next 3 to 5 years or whatever working on something. Is this the best idea you have? For an entrepreneur, it's always, well, I need money. Well, the point is money tends to flow to where opportunity is. So if you can create value and opportunity, you can get money. It's harder in some parts of the country than others. But the real scarce thing is your time. So you really need to understand and think about the process of planning. Famous expression, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And in the course of this course, we're going to be asking you to think about who are your customers or users? Who cares about what I do? Will they buy or use what you're doing? What will they pay, or how can you otherwise make money or get resources, capture value? How are you going to make and deliver it? Think about something as simple as Netflix as a concept, right? Back when it wasn't streaming, it was DVD in a packet shipped to you. It's not an amazing concept. It's pretty straightforward, but the planning, their key was they could actually deliver on it effectively and efficiently. Or Amazon selling books online. That's how they got started. I mean, what's so hard? Well, there's a lot that goes on in the background. And what are the resources, people, and technology you'll need? And so whether it's a Web 2.0 or a biotech or a social developmental, I want to just reiterate the really two basic things. It's create value and then figure out how to capture or harvest the value. That's the key thing we're trying to do. So how many of you have seen the movie The Social Network? Okay, you may remember this scene. Let's see if this works, if I can do that. So Eduardo says, it's time to monetize the site. And Mark says, what does that mean? And Eduardo says, it means it's time for the website to generate revenue. No, I know what that means, but I'm asking you how you want to do it. And he says, advertising. Remember that famous advertising? And Mark's reaction is, no. And he says, Eduardo says, well, we've got 4,000 members. This is Facebook, okay? 4,000 members. And Mark says, because the Facebook is cool. If we start installing pop-ups for Mountain Dew, it's not going to, and Eduardo says, well, I wasn't really thinking about Mountain Dew, but maybe at some point I'm talking about the business and the company, the site. And Mark says, we don't even know what it is yet. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it can be. We don't know what it will be. We know that it's cool. It's a priceless asset. I'm not giving it up. Eduardo says, when will it be finished? And the famous answer is, it won't be finished. That's the point. The way fashion's never finished. So here they are, these guys that have created something that they think of have value, and they're trying to figure out how to harvest the value. So I went and I looked at the 10K for Facebook. 10K is the annual report you file with the Securities and Exchange Commission when you're a public company. And in the first part of it, they say, you have to say what your business is. And they say, our mission is to make the world more open and connected. And so I'm looking to try to figure out what they say their business is after that. And it was very curious. They had 3 major headings in the 10K. The first one was how we create value for users. The second one was how we create values for developers through the Facebook platform. And the third one was how do we create value for marketers. So here they are, a public company with, billions of users now, and they're focused on how do they create value, and they're still struggling a bit with what their revenue model is on the other side. So the two basic, my point is the same things that you're going to think about starting a company, how do you create value and how do you harvest value, never goes away. It's constant through this. And I thought I could go to the 10K and find some really nice story about how they harvest value, and they're still thinking about how to create value. Now, one way to think about what we're going to do here is to have a visualization. And I think of it as a pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid, you can think of as your mission statement. similar to what Facebook said. And underneath that, supporting that, is your elevator pitch. People know what elevator pitches are? I think we did that in the 100K. It used to be all of the venture capitalists lived in, offices were high-tech, high buildings. So you'd have maybe, 20 floors. The theory is you get into the elevator, the person turns to you and say, "What do you do?" And you have 20 floors to explain it in maybe 30 seconds. A lot of the VCs have moved to two-story buildings. The elevators, if they take so you have to do this as you run up the stairs with them. So you got to be even crisper today than before. Underneath that might be the executive summary. We'll go into that a little bit. Under that might be the PowerPoint presentation. Under that could be the full plan if you get to the point of writing one. But underneath all of that are a set of foundations of individual topics. We'll go through some of these through the course. And the point is, it takes a lot of effort to distill everything down up to the tip of the pyramid. And what you're looking for is you can describe that top very clearly and have it supported all the way down through it. The mission statement might be a sentence or a paragraph. The elevator pitch could be 30 seconds. The executive summary, 2 to 5 pages. PowerPoint, 10, 20, 30. Do you know the 10, 20, 30 rule? I put a link in on the website to the Guy Kawasaki clip about that. So PowerPoint, I totally don't do this in this presentation, but he says 10 slides, 20 minutes, 30-point font. That's what you're aiming for. And then the full business plan could be anywhere from 25 to 30 pages if you end up doing that. The slides, by the way, for most of the presentations will be posted on the website afterwards. So that'll help you out. So now the question is, all right, I sort of get it. It's this image that I have to do and figure out. The question is, who actually writes this? Is it the founder alone, the team, or even a professional hired writer, consultant? Charlie Tillett, who will be here on Thursday, and I stood outside this room at an MIT Enterprise Forum event during the break, and I asked Charlie, who had entered the 10K competition back in the day, "What are you doing this summer, Charlie?" He says, "Well, I'm graduating. I'm thinking from Sloan. I'm trying to think what to do." I said, "Well, I'm working with some entrepreneurs. I've been working with them for a couple of years, and they really could use someone to help write a plan. They need to get some funding." And Charlie was game. We hopped in his truck, drove up to a strip mall up in Tewksbury, I think it was, a room with 10 engineers, and he ended up joining the company to write the plan and stayed with them through when they went public. But at the end of the day, it was the entrepreneurs that needed to own the plan. These guys were great engineers, but they couldn't write a plan if you paid them $1 million. They just couldn't articulate it well. So that's one of the reasons we try to put teams together, because if you have a great idea but you're missing some skills, you got to figure out a way of getting people with skills together. And those entrepreneurs would never have gotten anywhere near where they are today if Charlie hadn't joined them. And Charlie wouldn't have been able to take a company public if he hadn't hooked up with the idea. So the point is, whoever writes it, the team has to own the plan, by which I mean they really have to be able to defend it. Sometimes the issue is, well, what do they look like? Don't put it in a big binder. It doesn't really matter how you put it together. It should just look somewhat professional, but not overly slick. You're an unknown character. If Bill Gates came up to me and threw a napkin on the table with some ideas on it, he'd have my attention. But if you do the same thing, you're not quite there yet. So it's the first step towards it. You've got to have something that says this is a serious team or person that are going to do some serious things.